This is code.org. Let's see what we're doing. A social media analyst wants to create a list of the number of Twitter followers for Beyonce, Stephen Curry, Lena Waithe, Gloria Edmond, and Kaiser Williams in order. In socialmedia.java, write the create num followers method to declare, initialize, and return an int array. Using an initializer list, the array should contain the following values. All right, so that's a lot of words. Let's first head over to our social media Java class. And now we need to write this method, create num followers. Let's see, get num. Oh, and looks like, oh, look, they even commented, right? So we know what's going on. Cool. All right, so I'm going to go down here, line 27, it looks like. And method to declare, initialize, and return. Wow, they make a lot of that sound pretty scary, right? So declare just means let the computer know or make something exist. So we're saying declaring this exists, so int. And now for an array, right, since it contains multiple things, we do need these square brackets. You'll notice it's identical to this, right? So this is going to be returning an integer array. Same thing when we make an int array, we use that to explain what type of variable it is. Now, they didn't give us a specific name for it, containing the values, so I'm actually just going to call this values. It seems up to us. We could have called it Fred if we wanted, but values works for me. And then if it's going to declare, initialize, and return, containing these values. So one way to initialize this would just be to write new, and then what we would need after this is the variable, is the data type, int, and then we would put the number of items in this list or in this array. However, since we already have these values, guys, I'm going to go ahead and do curly brackets right here, semicolon, and I'm actually just going to copy these, right-click copy, go over here, and right-click paste. Now, a few things. This is integers, right? So I don't need to put them in quotes. They're numbers. That's what int means. And now I do want to go ahead and return these values. So we declared it, we initialized it with data, and now we're going to return literally values. Now, if I named this Fred, which I could have done, I would have to return Fred. And not to blow your mind, but we could have also just done this. Would have worked just the same. It doesn't technically declare it, though, so it doesn't meet the criteria, at least not if you're my student. There we are. All right, so that's step one. Step two, write the getNumbers method to return the length of the number of followers. So get number of users, got it. So this guy here needs to return the number of users in the num followers array. So return the length of it, and it clarifies this right here, the length of. Okay, so we got this covered, right? I'm going to go ahead and do int because it would be an integer to get the length. I'm just going to call this len equals, and then what is our item here? Now, what I find concerning here is values. Do we already have, bloop. All right, so this is a problem right here. We need to be using this. Oh, no, we don't. I'm kidding. Odd. Okay, we're just going to have that set a different way. But this is what they want us to get the length of. So that is confusing, but fine. Num followers dot length and semicolon. Actually, blup blup. This length is great for getting the length of a string. We're talking about arrays, so that's what we would actually need. And then I'm going to return this. Call the getNum users method and print the result. And so calling it means I have to ask it to run. Where? Over here. That's where we're going to ask it to run. So I need to initialize this. We already, initialize. I need to instantiate the class. It's already instantiated. So I'm going to do Twitter is the name of the instantiated class. And then I'm going to do getNum users. And now what this should do is tell the computer, hey, go grab the content from this class. How does it know that? Oh, Twitter. What's that? This. And then run getNum users. What will that return? The length of this. Let's check it out. Oh, and print the result. So this does that. I'm going to do system.out.println, and we could assign this a variable. We could put it into our print statement directly. I'll just call this int users, and now I'll just say users, semicolon. Let's give that a shot. 5. Bum-ba-da-dum. Awesome. That looks great. A few other ways we could have done this, right? We could have put this down here directly. That works great too. And if you want to be real fancy, we could have thrown a different string in here that said number of users. Something like that. Throw in a plus to make sure this still gets output as a number. Fancy. Now I want to make sure to talk about why or how this is actually 5, right? Because I would have assumed this is 0, and it's not. And why it's not is crucial. So when we create a new instance of our social media class right here, we name it Twitter, what does that do? Well, it demands that we run this. What is this? This is going to be the constructor within our class. So let's head over to our class, and notice, here's those parentheses, that has to run. Now what does this involve? Well, this involves assigning some value, whatever this method is, to num followers. What's num followers? Right here. So we say this because we're telling it it's already up here. Go look within this class, we have this num follows variable, and we need to give it a value. Now what value? Well, we gotta run create num followers. Now I'm making a mess. So what's create num followers? The computer says, I don't know, let me go find it. Smack, right? And it's okay, I'll run this. Int value, oh, I gotta create an array of numbers with these numbers. Okay, what do I have to do with this array named values? I have to return it. Okay, so remember, values is this. Where does it get returned to? Well, wherever we called the method, so right back here. Okay, here's all that values. Wait a minute. So now this num followers is equal to all this data. That means once we get back over here and we do get num users, it goes, okay, schmack, get num users, num followers.length. Well, we just said when we created this class initially, it already made num followers full of this. So when we get the length of that, it is 5, which it actually is. Code's pretty cool. Onward.